Welcome everybody to another CTC webinar. My name is Sean Zerbis, Technical Evangelist at CTC, and in this session we're going to talk about HIVE, specifically talking about HIVE as it relates to end users, giving you as definitive a guide as we possibly can in a 45 little minute area here. Hopefully we can keep this to 45 minutes. So first of all, let's jump in. What is HIVE, or what are we talking about here? You know, being an end user in any new tool can be rather daunting, right? It's a brand new tool, it's got new workflows, new things to learn, all kinds of stuff. So HIVE is specifically designed to be user-friendly. We wanted you specifically to know, though, how exactly to use it to find all the content that you're going to need. We're going to cover all the user navigation abilities of HIVE. We're going to try and talk about how it can be used in your design environment, so you, the end users, can be able to leverage this specifically in Revit or in Windows or whatever your design environment is where you're leveraging HIVE. So let's kind of go over why HIVE in the first place. I know whenever I talk to new users about new technology, many of them go, well, why am I doing this in the first place? Well, let's talk about this. In Windows, you have lots and lots of files, so many files. They're all over the place, all different folders, all across the network, different directories for different reasons. And in a lot of cases, the Windows file structure can get out of hand pretty quickly. Your goal is to find something quickly and use it, whether it be documentation on how to do a specific workflow, finding the latest version of that and using it, or finding the proper family or piece of content to drop into your design environment. And unfortunately, the file name is not always the most efficient way of finding something. There's a lot of cases where there's information inside the file that might be meaningful. This is especially true when we're talking about Revit content. Also, the loading process in a lot of the design applications, it's not always easy or straightforward. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. You know, say you wanted a wall type, and we'll use this example in our discussion today. Say you wanted a wall type in your project that you didn't already have. Well, you have to go find a project that has it, open that project up, use transfer project, like there's all kinds of things. It's not the easiest workflow. Also, when you exit the office, there's also a little bit of an issue. If you're not a super large firm with really quality VPN access, you can't really get access easily to your company content. And even across VPN, that can sometimes be cumbersome because it's not very fast. So we need a very quick way, a very efficient way of getting access to files when we're not in the office. So this is where HIVE comes into play. Now, what we're going to talk about today is 5 major topics. General navigation. So we're going to talk about searching and discovering content. We're going to talk about saving your searches so you can make some of these searches repeatable for things that are common. We're going to take a look at the content details so you can actually get more information about the content. We'll talk about using the content, how to use it in your project. In fact, we'll probably talk about that earlier on up during general navigation. And we're also going to talk about how you can ask for more from the BIM management team, how you can request more content. So with that, let's jump directly into HIVE. Let's start here actually on my desktop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up HIVE here from my desktop. When I open this up, you know, HIVE is going to open, it's going to log me in as myself. Well, not myself. It's an end user account that I've created that lets me kind of see what's going on in here. So I'm logged in right now as Joe Demo. Joe Demo in this case is a basic Revit end user or basic HIVE end user. I have a couple of basic buttons here on the left-hand side where I can kind of navigate around and see. I can search content and discover some things. I can manage my saved searches, and I can work with requests, those major topics we said we were going to work with. Over to the right, I currently have opened up my filters page. Now you can collapse this if you don't like having it open, that's fine. You can squish HIVE down and make it a little smaller, but if you leave that filters window open, you actually have a little bit better control over your searches on the general search bar. And this is actually where we source a lot of our saved settings for saved searches. There's also the ability to discover content here, where you pick a library and then it gives you some access. We'll do this in a minute. You can, of course, manage your saved searches. So if you realize in the future that the search criteria maybe is a bit off, or you want to replace something or just delete it because you don't use it as much as you thought you might, you can certainly go in here and manage your searches. You can also execute your searches from here, but this isn't typically where I do that. And of course, there's that request engine where you can go in here and make requests of the BIM admin team. We'll take a look at doing that later as well. Let's start first with something very simple, a basic search. Let's say I wanted to know some information about, oh, I don't know, let's see, we'll talk about some shared coordinates. I'll just put in shared here at the top and see what pops up. When I type in shared, this is going to find a bunch of documents for me that I can look at. In this case, I'm not in Revit yet, so this is all just basic documentation, either Word docs or PDFs, and I can use this stuff. So I can go in here and say, well, yeah, there's establishing shared coordinates, and I can double click on this, and it'll open up in whatever my native PDF reader in this case happens to be. Or if I clicked on a Word doc like project orientation, this would open up in a Microsoft Word environment, opening up a docx file, and let me read through that, depending on what that documentation happened to be. So you have control over finding the content you're looking for. I just put in a basic keyword that searched all the way across my network in a number of different folders, and it happened to find this documentation. Well, that's all well and good, but let's talk about this from a more practical level. Let's talk about this from the Revit point of view, since many of us are actually leveraging Revit and we want to use Hive from that environment. Now, I happen to have a Revit project open, but I was recently told I needed to start a brand new project. So I'm going to do that. There's a couple of different ways of doing this, but I'm going to use Hive to actually start my new project. I'm going to open up Hive. Once again, it's going to open. It has me logged in already. I've changed my display here of this left toolbar. Instead of it having it being all the way opened up, I've collapsed it so that I can just see the icons. I don't necessarily need to see the names. That just, creates some extra unnecessary space there. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse that down. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to find a template. So I'm going to type in right here, template. If I could spell, that would be fantastic too, right? That would be great. You have to kind of spell searches correctly for it to find anything. So I just typed in template, and it looked through my entire library and found some things. And in some cases, there's actually some template content down below. But what I'm looking for here, since I'm in 2018, I'm going to start a project from my 2018 starter project. All right. So if I double click on this, what it's going to do is, in this case, open up a Revit project, and it gives me some choices. Well, since this is a template or a starter project, what I want to do is open it up detached from the central file, preserving my work set. So I'm actually starting in a newish, start from scratch sort of project using my template settings. Of course, I get the typical window of opening work sets that pops up because of the settings on that file, but I'm now in a new start from scratch file. Of course, I have to create some levels. I have no floor plans here yet, so I'm going to use one of my other Express tools real quickly here, View Creator, to actually generate a couple of floor plan views so I have something to draw within for just a little while here. So go to my Plan Ceiling tab, tell it to check a couple of boxes here, nothing super magical. Check whatever floor plan types it is I need. Nothing magical there either. And tell it that I want to create those views. All right, so there's a bunch of views. Make what, 20 of them? Yeah, 20 floor plan views, and go into one of those. So let's open up our level 1 floor plan here and start drawing something. So I'm in this project. Now I probably should have saved this. Let's be real. I should have saved this file. I'm being a little lazy here. I'm just going to start doing a little bit of drawing. Not that big of a deal. I'm going to start drawing some walls. Use the basic Revit wall command, draw some kind of shape out here. I don't really know what I'm doing yet, so I'm just going to draw something at this point. And while I'm using this, notice over here in my project, I don't have a lot of wall types. So let's go back to that example I was giving you earlier about loading additional wall types. Well, I'd have to open up a project, warehouse file that I knew had a bunch of stuff that I wanted, and then go through that exercise of using manage, and I happen to have a project open in the background, but manage transfer project standards, check none, scroll down, find walls, wherever they are, and then when I click OK, or if I was to click OK, it would bring every single wall type from that project in. And that might not be what I want. Maybe I only want, stud frame construction, gyp on both sides, 8-inch wall, like a basic, A8 wall or whatever your wall type names are. So instead of me doing this the long way and finding that file and opening it up and transferring project standards, I'm simply going to search for something here, like A_. This is a part of my wall type naming convention. And when I search for this, it's going to give me things that somehow match that, whether it be looking in the type names of families or property names, or in this case, the actual type name of the walls. So I'm going to go ahead and specifically say, let's get this a 8-inch wall right here and drag and drop this into my model, okay? So when I'm doing this, just drag and drop in, it should load that wall type, okay? It's not. Let's double click it. That'll load it as well. Every once in a while, my drag and drop here inside of my Revit, gets a little finicky once in a great while just because I've got too many programs running at this point. I've got, of course, the presentation recording and a bunch of other stuff. So when I drag that in, though, this is the key. I brought in specifically the A8, the type A 8-inch wall. That's all I drug in or double clicked on. In this case, that's all Revit's loaded. That's it, just the one. Now there's a whole warehouse file out there that has a bunch of other walls in it that I could also grab and bring across. But for right now, I've only brought in the one. So now I can start drawing. It's also initiated my place wall command right here. So I can start drawing out here whatever I feel is relevant for this particular model. And, I get some walls out there. And then if I come back and I go, well, yeah, but I also want that 6-inch wall. Well, I can grab that as well. I'll grab the 6-inch wall. We'll drag and drop this guy. This time drag and drop is happy. Collapse this up again. Yep, there's my A6. It actually selected that particular type. Started my wall draw command once again. And now I'm over here drawing some other, wall out here into my model. Okay. So you have full control over what it is you bring in. Now, additionally, I wanted to bring in some doors. See, if I go over here to Architecture tab and I grab a door, I haven't loaded any. Yeah, this is an architectural template, but I don't have any default typical doors in here right now. Again, I don't know what kind of construction I'm going to be doing, and I don't know what kind of doors a person's going to need. There's probably some typicals I could have, but I didn't have any just yet. So I'm going to put over here swing single and see what pops up. So I'm just putting in some basic search criteria and seeing what rises to the surface here in HIVE. Now it's searching through the entire library and finding anything that matches swing or single or both. In this case, it found a single panel door, a couple of them, and probably if I was to look at their details, in fact, if I go here and show the list view of these doors, notice how there's some tags associated, and one of those tags is swing. So it's finding swing on a number of these doors. Additionally, because it's doing just individual word searches here, it's also finding things like single outlets and single carrels and things like that. So it finds a bunch of stuff. Now I could probably further filter this pretty easily if I had my filters page open, but for right now I don't. Now let's say I wanted to further filter this. Well, I can do that. If I pull this a little bit wider, I'm going to open up the filters page right here so I can actually see those extra controls. I was mentioning that I like using filters. They give me a lot better control. So in this case, if I'm looking for swing and single, what I might do is actually just search single. That's it. And I might go down here to my tags, and maybe I want to just look for swing. So I can actually grab my swing tags right there. So I can grab any element that actually has swing associated to it. And I can further filter this by saying, hey, you know what? I only want to have doors in this list. So I'm just going to search for doors. So now I'm searching for anything that is single, that's a door, and has this swing tag. And again, it's only giving me back Revit content. So I can search for this and now find absolutely everything in my library that matches that criteria. I can go even further if I really wanted to. I can say, hey, in my libraries, only search my corporate content, because a lot of this stuff is garbage out of the box files. So only search my corporate content right here. And then it would find the one door that actually matches my criteria in my small little library here. For now, let's start with this guy and actually play with it for a minute. I want you to kind of notice here, I've got a T on some of these guys. That means that there is a type catalog associated to a lot of these doors. My corporate swing single door in this case does not have a type catalog. We'll come back to that in just a minute though. I'm going to take this single panel door right here, door single panel, and I'm going to load this into my project. Again, just drag and drop. Now, because there's a type catalog, it pops up the type selector, as I would expect it to. So I can go through and choose any types that are relevant here, just picking the 34 and 36 inch. The one that has the arrow on it is the one that usually it gets inserted directly. So that's the one that I'm inserting right now. So if I collapse this HIVE environment here, there's my 36 by 84 inch. It's loaded the 34 by 84 inch as well. So I've got the two door types that I selected from the type selector. And of course, I can drop these doors out here in my model wherever relevant. Okay, so that's up to me. But now if I come back and let's say I load something from my corporate library where I did not have a type catalog. Let's load this guy. Drag and drop this one out here as well. When I drop this one out here, now let's double click it. It doesn't want to drag and drop right now. Again, notice I'm getting the type selector. I don't have a type catalog, but it still pulls it up. So it makes it real easy for you to guarantee that you're getting just the types you want, even if type catalogs are not necessarily at play. Now, ideally they would be, but they don't have to be for you to be able to use this. So it's going to load this family in and let me start to place it as well. And so, of course, I can drop this out here wherever is relevant in my model. Give it a second to place the door, flip this guy over, whatever. Yeah, that's interesting. All right. And there we go. And so I want to now maybe tag these doors, right? If I start the door tag command again, probably there's no tags in my project. So I'm going to clear this filter right here, clear my swing option, and maybe I look just, well, we'll just look in the out-of-the-box library here. I'm going to put in door tag. Maybe I just want to use the default door tag, or if I had a corporate specific piece of content I wanted or something that was tagged to a specific client of mine, I could leverage you know, that client's information. Now here, I've got a 2016 and a 2018 door tag. Notice how I'm getting content from multiple versions here. I'm not getting any 2019 content though, even though I think I have some in my library. You can force Revit to auto-filter to a specific version. I can show future content. I can't use it in 2018, but I can show it. Well, if I also want to only show myself content of my current version, I can simply check this box right here, or whichever versions I wanted, or you can also use this set current Revit version, and it'll default to whatever version you're in and just lock into that particular Revit version. So now when I'm searching for something like door tag, it'll find that one thing just for my 2018 content. And the more you filter this down, the faster your searches get because it has less to look for. Now, in this case, it's finding doors and tags. It's finding door tag first because it's the most relevant, but it does also find doors, and it's giving me back a bunch of stuff because I have two different keyword searches. Of course, I could do ref categories and say door tags there as well if I wanted to. But now here I can go ahead and load this content in. It initiates my tag command, and I can start throwing tags out here on the actual families themselves. Last thing, before we go on to a somewhat different topic here, let's talk about schedules. So if I go up here to my content, let's say schedule, door schedule in this case. And again, only Revit 2018. It won't actually find anything because I have nothing in this out-of-the-box library. I should have probably put that to my CTC library here. Let's go back and say, let's go here and look for door schedule. Schedules, walls, sheets, drafting views, model groups, all of those types of things, they're all held in projects in a warehouse file someplace. And again, to get views like these drafting views, you'd have to go use a different command, not transfer project standards, but something like insert views or insert sheets. And I can have sheets and views side by side in here and drop them from Hive into my active project. So here I'm going to drop the actual door frame schedule, and depending on the content that I've got, it's already got my headers, it's already got my groupings, everything's all filled out. It's ready to go. All I had to do was bring it across. And so even if I don't have that schedule just yet, like if I wanted to get this door frame schedule filtered to level 0, I could bring this across and it would pre-filter that schedule and give me exactly that particular view. Now in this case, it might not have actually set that filter because my level names may be different, but it starts by trying to do some kind of level filtering here. But you can leverage Hive for a lot of stuff, bringing content across. So this is all searching for content. This is the primary way that many people leverage the Hive environment. Basic searches, type stuff in, find your content, get it filtered down to as small a collection as possible and start dragging things across. There is going to come a time that you're going to find yourself doing similar searches repetitively. Maybe you're constantly looking for doors. Maybe that's what you do. Or maybe you're a mechanical engineer and you only want mechanical content. You can set those types of searches up. So if I go back here to my home page, I've got some searches for the different types of roles that I run on a regular basis. I have MEP electrical, mechanical, and plumbing. So if I grab any of these searches, what you'll notice is that my search criteria at the top and all of my filters over here to the right, they'll all reset themselves. So if I say MEP electrical, let's grab this. It's going to basically set nothing for the search criteria. It searches everything. It puts over here a specific library, looks for anything that's tagged as electrical, and it doesn't care about the Revit version. So at this point, from this point forward throughout the day, I could potentially collapse filters and just run searches here at the top, and it will always look in a certain library for anything that contains the electrical tags. I'm only going to get returned back electrical specific content. That's it. Or if I wanted to have, say, an architectural search, I could do something similar. Maybe I want to look at my main corporate library over here for my main set of content, and I don't want to search electrical, I want to search architecture. So from this point forward, I will never get back anything that is not tagged architecture. It's, again, only giving me Revit content. I could also specifically say, only give me back certain versions of Revit, only give me my current Revit 2018 version. And so you as an end user, you can save this search. I can click on save. I can say, well, this is my ARC 2018 content. That's going to be it. That's what I want to find. So it's then going to find, you know, ARC content from my library, so main corporate library, and I click save here in this case. And if I was to run that search, it would run exactly what I've got set up over here. Okay. So if I drop this list down and I say ARC 2018 content, it's going to give me back everything from that library that matches architecture and just Revit stuff. So things like sheets, schedules, you know, architectural object types in this list. Now, yeah, I'm going to search this. I'm going to filter this down a bit more, but I'm looking in specific areas now. All right, let's take a look at another way of searching for content. This is the search method, but let's also focus a little bit on discover. This is just another way of finding content using the exact same libraries and the exact same properties, but just a slightly different way of going about it. So let's say I want to look at all the out-of-the-box content. If I do this, what's going to show up over here to the right is a properties or an attributes filter pane. Now through here, you can go through and select whatever is relevant to what you're trying to find. You can dig into every single parameter value. Here, for example, is a parameter value that would show up on an electrical panel board. And down here is a fourfold, probably something that has to do with a door or something. I have no idea. But these parameters exist throughout all of my families in my library, and I can search through all of them. Now, I don't typically go and scroll through a super huge long list. If I was looking for something like, let's say I wanted Herman Miller content to drop in my floor plan, what I can type up here is something like Herman, okay? As I type in Herman, actually there's no Herman Miller content in my out-of-the-box library. Let's try this again. Let's go here to my CTC corporate library here and search for Herman once again. I apologize, I forgot that I was in just the out-of-the-box library. So if I go back up here and put in Herman, so it's going to find anything that matches that, things like type names or manufacturers, and so I can find anything that's got a manufacturer of Herman Miller. And if I click on that, it'll give me now, instead of a huge long list of parameters, just parameters that are specifically related to this content. So if I was looking for Titus, or I'm looking for JCI York, or Stanley Doors, or whatever, if that information is on the family in some form, whether it be a family name or a type name or a manufacturer property, I can search all those attributes instantly. This is where Hive goes way beyond what Windows can do. Windows can search the family name. That's all it can do. And I may have found Herman Miller because it's a part of my RFA family name, but there's other things that I may not have found, right? And I can further filter this if I want to. So you can use the Discover pane over here to search as many libraries and all the file attributes that you'd like directly through here. All right, let's also take a look at some of the details about the content. Since I happen to have Herman Miller content open right now, we may as well focus on this one. If you right-click any piece of content, you can actually get access to extra details. So I can click on that. That'll open up a details page over here. And you can make this window as wide or narrow as you'd like it to be, and you can take a look at the data inside the family. So I can see all the information like where it originally came from, what the file size is of that family, when it was first added and last updated, who added and updated it, all this information, what libraries it's in, what tags it's got, all kinds of stuff I can see. But here's a really important thing. Down below, you can look at specific family type data here as well. Now, this particular family only has one family type. If I picked a different family, I'd have potentially more. But in this case, when you're looking at family types, you can actually filter the parameters here as well to find specific properties you might be interested in. Now, if I was dealing with like a VAV box, I might want to know what the maximum airflow was. Well, I can use this to find that out. Also, in a lot of cases, when you're looking through these parameters here, you'll notice that a lot of these parameters are relatively empty, and that can be kind of frustrating. So what I do is I like to only display parameters that actually have some kind of a value associated to them. So in this case, it gets rid of all the empty values and lets me actually look at parameters that are really relevant in some form. Now, additionally, if the BIM manager has included this extra information, you can also get access to outside links. In the case of this particular chair, I have a link to the adjustment guide for that chair, and I have a link to the main product page for this chair. So if I double click on one of these links here, it'll actually, in my main web browser, open up that manufacturer's website for that thing, in this case, Aeron chairs. Or let's say I was searching for something else. Let's go back to the main search up here, and let's search for something that is not just in Revit. In fact, it's not in any of my libraries. I'm going to clear everything out, and I'm going to tell it that I want to look for level of development, LOD. Basic document many of us have probably read at some form if you're in the world of building information modeling. I'm going to find this level of development document right here. There's a PDF. Now again, if I right click on this and I tell it that I want to see some details, I can start looking at what's going on here and say, okay, well look, there's some attachments. Now this isn't a Revit family, so there's no family types here. Makes sense. But there's some attachments. This document here is a guide. It says, do these things. This is the definition of what LOD 300 or whatever happens to be. It gives you descriptions of everything. But then there's an action where you actually have to fill out an Excel file. Well, this particular document has an attachment. I can grab this and download it, and then I can start to fill this out relating to my project specifically. And if I want to read more about this, once again, there's links that are available here. It'll take me out to the BIM forum page. Again, opening up in my native web browser, whatever that happens to be. So I can read more about this, get the latest documents, whatever I need to do. Also here, you can see if users have rated this content, who's rated it, what the rating was, and if they've ever updated that rating. If there was any comments or feedback, you can see that here as well. Now for this particular library, Joe Demo doesn't have any rights to actually leave feedback. If they did, they could right click on this, and there would actually be the option off that right click menu. Once this thing decides to right click, there we go. That would let me down below details here, tag and comment and rate. In this case, I don't have that. If I was to go to a different library, like let's say I went to, let's go back to doors again. Swing single, do that basic search again. The Revit content library, I've been given rights to be able to actually leave feedback on content from these particular libraries. So here, if I right click on door single panel, I have some extra options. I can manage the tags. I can actually make this door more searchable. If I feel this door should be associated with interior and commercial and swing and whatever else, I can actually manage the tags on this door myself and actually assign it different things. So in this case, it's got commercial, it's got imperial, it already has residential. Well, fantastic. It's got all the things that I wanted. So I don't have to worry about this one, but there might be others where I can actually go in there and administer some of the tags myself. Also, I can rate this content. I can go, well, I think this content is fantastic. This is awesome stuff right here. 5-star content. I can do that. And if you go take a look at the details on that, again, over here, you can see that who has specifically rated this content and when. So I gave a new rating just now that on 8/21/2018, that was a 5-star rating. There's now 3 ratings here. Actually, this is an error on my side. I deleted this user at one point. The whole HIVE system is not designed to delete users. So you normally won't see another duplicate entry. What you would see is an update by that person. So each person usually only gets 1 entry. This was my fault. You can also leave feedback. I can comment on this content and say something about this content. You know, it doesn't insert properly into walls thinner than 4 inches or something, right? Like you can put whatever you feel is appropriate here to give feedback to BIM managers. So if you gave it a really crap rating, that's fine. You can do that, but definitely give them feedback in that case. So I can save this and go, I didn't mean a 5-star rating. That wasn't what I meant at all. I meant this to be a 1-star rating because this content is garbage, right? So if I do that and I kind of basically re-look at those details over here for this thing, I can see that, well, I should be able to refresh that. I may have to refresh my entire window here, but it would normally say the rating was such and such, and I can also see the comments here. If I can leave comments, I can read the comments. In this case, I have to refresh this window. But at any rate, yeah, you can go through and manage all of the content or look for all of the content that you need specifically for drawing in your design application. All right, let's talk about one final topic here, and this is if you can't find what you're looking for. So you went, you searched, you tried to find stuff, didn't find it, now what's going on? All right, so here what I'm going to do, actually there was a question that popped in. It says, does the rating comments apply or attach to the whole family or just the type within that family? That's a great question. That rating, that feedback applies to the entire family. So it's not just one type, it's the family as a whole. So if there's a problem with the family, it doesn't insert properly, you know, obviously the BIM managers would want to go track that down, and it might be specific to a certain type. But if the user's having a problem, it relates to the family as a whole. And so those ratings, the actual comment, that is family specific information. All right. So again, what if I can't find content? So over here on the left-hand side, the little mail option, this is request, this little letter here. It's request. And if you didn't know what the names were, again, you could always expand this out to see all the names and then recollapse it if you wanted to. But in this case for request, if I'm missing something, like I feel the BIM management team should give me a besom sliding door. I don't have it, I want it, it's not in my library, so give it to me. Well, I can go over here to request and I can add a new request. Now I've got a couple of requests that are in here right now. I can see a lot of these have been completed. In fact, I can filter these requests out and say, don't show me completed or rejected requests. I only care about those that are still pending. So I asked for more furniture in one case. I was rather nondescript there. I asked for Stanley doors. That's currently being worked on, fantastic, but now I need specifically like a besom door. So I'm gonna make another request. I can go here to my libraries and say, well, this belongs in our corporate library. The subject here is needed besom doors. Okay, and I'm giving some details here. You know, a specific door of a specific type, specifically sliding doors, whatever. I can be as descriptive here as I want to, and of course, assign a priority to it. Now, please understand, your BIM management team does have to have a little bit of a lead time before they can just instantly give you stuff back. But, you know, if something is truly high priority, let them know that. If it's something like, hey, it'd be nice if we had this, well, that's a low priority, right? They'll get to it eventually, but it's not super high priority. Or if it's just like average, like I need this yesterday because that's what normal typically is, you can leave this as normal. You also have the opportunity here to assign some maybe default tags to it. If this is a sliding door, maybe what I want to do is say, well, this is a commercial scenario, it's for architecture, this applies to imperial stuff, and this is going to be specifically a sliding door system. So I can give them those default tags so they understand some of the context around what my request is. And also, maybe I had downloaded or built this door myself, and I want to provide this to the BIM management team. So I can add files that might be relevant for them to be able to respond to this. I'm not just giving them a vague request saying I need these things. Maybe I give them some cut sheets downloaded from the manufacturer's site. Maybe I give them a typical family and I want it to work with our library. Maybe I'm using it already, right? That could be, but I can give this as a request to the admin team and let them get to it when they can get to it. And then when I click send request, that admin team actually gets an email saying, hey, this request came through. And then they know to go look at that. And then as they respond to it, when they come back and they actually take care of this and they give me those besom doors right there, and when they mark this completed or rejected, one or the other, it'll email me saying that there was a status update. So then I can handle that as well. All right, I think I've covered the vast majority of what you need to know about HIVE. Hopefully you've got all the information that you need. If you do want to know more, certainly let us know here. But I want to give you a couple of real quick closing thoughts. HIVE in general allows you to search everything. If it's in HIVE, you can search it. Doesn't matter the file type, all of it is searchable. Filtering really is your friend. And saving searches for things that you do commonly can really save you a lot of time in the future from resetting those filters. And the nice thing about filters is it also automatically finds any new content that might be added. So if you had a filter set up for things like furniture or for doors, in that case, a sliding door filter, then when you research that filter, it'll find new content as well as existing content. You can also go through and investigate the file's details. That can be meaningful. There's a lot of times the good supporting documentation, cut sheets, spec sheets, installation guides, extra details, manufacturer website links. A lot of those extra details can be meaningful for you. Also, and I didn't mention this, you as end users can flag and favorite content. If there's something in the library that's really, really bad, you can flag it. It goes beyond just a rating. Like your rating is an opinion thing, that's good. But if it's like broken, you can flag that content and then let the BIM management team know that you flagged a few things that needs their attention. You can also favorite stuff, and you can search your favorites in the future as well to further help filter down things that you want to try to find. There was a question that just popped through. It says, is there a similar workflow for things like SketchUp, AutoCAD, Civil 3D? The answer is yeah. For the most part, you can use HIVE in the Windows program for most other design tools like SketchUp and AutoCAD. Now, Civil 3D itself we're working right now on getting its own add-in. Civil 3D, AutoCAD Architecture, AutoCAD MEP, those types of tools, they're verticals of just the basic AutoCAD program. They have special needs. They've got special handlings just like Revit does. And so we're working on some verticals for those also. For right now, Revit is the only vertical, but you can certainly use things like SketchUp content, Dynamo content, AutoCAD content directly from HIVE as well. Just make a library, an application-specific library, throw the content in there through the Windows app, and then you can certainly go through and drop that content directly into those other design environments as well. And it inserts into them just like it would out of Windows. So you can, search and tag SketchUp files, certain collections of content, have your own kind of warehouse and just drag and drop into SketchUp. That does work. All right, with that, I really do appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you all for watching. As you exit the webinar, we always appreciate your feedback. If you've got additional comments or you want to see other types of presentations, please let us know those types of things. We definitely watch that. We value your opinions. If you thought today's presentation was great, thank you. Let us know. If you thought it was horrible, that's cool. Let us know. Well, it's not cool, but we want to know about it so we can improve upon it. Also, if you're watching this from the YouTube channel, certainly feel free to leave us comments there in YouTube as well. We do watch those, and we do try to handle any of those requests that come through YouTube. With that, have a great day, everybody. We look forward to seeing you in future presentations.